Alrighty, hey guys, I'm Ray and we are streaming blacksmithing. Hello, hello. We are back in the shop. Glad to see that you're feeling better. I am feeling so much better today. I'm still a little tired, but I think that, we can get through this. A little bit of adrenaline and I'll be good, right? All right. So today we have a very special mail call. This package was sent to me by Corwin, and I have to be careful because I forgot to grab my tape. So I normally I will take you guys' names and I will cover them in tape, opaque tape. Right now I don't have that in here. So what I'm going to do is I am going to peel that off of there so that I don't end up accidentally doxing people. All right, there we go. So once the ad is done, because there's always like an ad in the beginning, and so once that is over, we'll be doing a new mail call, and we'll see what is in this box. So I am super excited. Corwin told me that it was going to be a knife blank and a hairpin, and this box seems a little bit big and heavy for a knife blank and a hairpin. Hey Corwin, I have your package and I'm super excited to open it on stream. So I just ripped your name off of here so I don't accidentally dox you. Once this ad is over, I'll open the box and we'll see what's inside. So we have about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes somewhere in there to for me to talk about what we're doing as far as the project. And I'm going to do this again because I really want to, I need, a stand up, for the YouTube. Just discovered another blacksmith that's streaming right now and followed him. Awesome. There's another blacksmith. That's exciting. Go ahead and shout them out. Hey, Jack. Yeah, go ahead and shout them out. I think that you guys have the shout out ability. I think it's just like exclamation point shout out. So today what we're going to be doing is a skill checkup. And last year around this time, we made a set of silverware in stainless steel. And so for the next couple of days of streams, what we're going to be doing is making a new set of silverware. So I have here a 3-inch piece of, I think it's 1/2-inch square stainless steel. And we're going to see if we can't make a really nice thin fork out of this guy today. The goal is to finish one piece of silverware each day. It could take a couple days, but we'll get there. We'll definitely get a full set, a fork, knife, and spoon in stainless steel out in the next couple of streams. So yes, that is the plan for the day. And like I said, I'm going to do another version of that for YouTube because, I've got this package here in front of me. So let's see. I don't know. I'm super excited to be out here today. It is like really nice out. As you can probably tell, all I have on today is, one of my flannels. I don't even have a sweatshirt underneath of it, which is what I've been doing lately. Hey, Mound of Meat. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Can I ask the plan on separating the tines? We are going to be using an angle grinder because it's just a lot cleaner to use an angle grinder than it would be to use a chisel. You can, and it's very recommended to, when you're first learning to make these, to use either a hot cut or a chisel to separate the two tines for a fork. But today we are going to be using a angle grinder. So yes, an angle grinder. Well, if I will preface that by saying if I can get the cutting disc on the angle grinder. Right now, there's a flap disc on there for sanding. So if I can't get that off for whatever reason, I might change my mind. We might use a chisel. We probably will not be using a hot cut because I'm planning on doing the handle first, and I really want to make a really delicate, skinny, thin handle. So it will probably bend before we're able to separate those tines. So it's either the angle grinder or a chisel. And fingers crossed I can get the disc off. This is going to be scary. Why scary? Cutting the tines off with a flat disc sounds exciting on stainless, right? It does sound exciting on stainless, but hopefully it works the way I want it to. Oh, you know what? I don't even have my apron on. I had meant to put my apron on, but I left my safety glasses in the house. So let me put this on real fast. I do have a bandsaw, and I could use a bandsaw, but it would take a lot more effort for me to pull the bandsaw out than it is to pull the angle grinder out. So yeah. I need prescription safeties. Yeah, I don't yet need prescription safeties, but you know, I'm getting older, my eyes are going. They're definitely tired today, but I've been like playing on the computer most of the day. So, you know, it's my own fault for watching or for having too much screen time. So hopefully, you know, we can manage, and we will get some rest after the stream ends. So yeah, looks like the ad break is about to end, and we will open up this box. All right, so it looks like our ad is over. And Corwin, this is a huge box for those 2 little things that you said that you were going to send me. So I'm trusting you that there's nothing unseemly in here that's going to get me dinged. But yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing what's in here. So yes, I'm glad I got prescription safety glasses free from work. Ooh, that is nice. All right, so let's open this. Being real safe and, you know, cutting this open with the, you know, away from myself. Because I don't want to, you know, cause myself injury and whatnot. Been there, done that. Haha. Alrighty. Alrighty. Let's see. We've got a box within a box. Ooh, that's exciting. The very first thing that I see. I don't know if I can even pull it out of here without pulling a bunch of other packaging materials in here. Ooh. Check this out. Coil springs. There's more than one. There's like a bunch of them. Like, I think it looks like, what, 3? So we've got these 2 small ones. We'll put those here for the moment. I'm going to trip on them if I don't move them eventually. And then we've got this one. Coil springs. That's exciting. That one's a little bit thicker. It feels like that one might actually have like a rubber coating on it that I might have to pull off of there. Pipe units large. Ooh. Inside this lovely bag is a knife blank. Ooh, it looks like a nice chopper, like a kitchen knife, you know. Looks like a pretty good shaping there. Definitely needs some scales and a little bit of grinding, but I mean, it looks pretty nice. Pretty darn straight. Got a distal taper on there and everything. So nice. I made an entire set out of punching tools out of 1 coil spring. I've never regretted it. Yes, those are awesome. And we've got ourselves a J-hook. J-hooks are very nice. That's a lovely twist on there. All right, so we'll put that over there. More packaging material. And I'll put these, I'll move this over there. And it looks like inside of this bag, ooh, this is quite a delicate hairpin. This is very, very nice. Oh, that's such a cool, such a beautiful S on the end of that. It's split in two, and the scroll and work is beautiful. Very delicate. Awesome. Oh, it's a candy cane ornament. Oh, okay. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Ooh, that's a big old bolt. Interesting. Do we know what steel this is made of? Or is this something I'll have to look up? I might have to look it up. But yeah, lots of nice stuff. Ooh, and this is like another piece of nice steel. Lots and lots of steel in here. We're definitely going to be making some good stuff out of this. We've got a couple of railroad clips and some railroad ties. These are awesome. Thank you so much, Corwin. Thank you so much. We will definitely start making some stuff out of this. I figured I'd throw in some steels that you said you didn't have. Yeah, I don't have a lot of these steels. All right, so let's stick these over in the in my steel pile. We've got a lot of nice stuff that you guys have sent me to work with. I'm super excited. We've got all of this that Corwin has sent, and then Mahalo also sent that lovely chain. So we'll be playing with that a little bit as well here in the future. So excellent. Thank you guys so, so much for sending me all these lovely goodies. Thank you so much, Corwin. Thank you. 6OS for the railroad clips. Not sure about the bolt, but it's a railroad bolt of some sort. Interesting. That's awesome. Okay. So I am going to put all of the packaging materials in the box so I don't set them on fire by accident. And stick this behind the camera. Gorgeous. We'll have to finish this guy up. This goes this way because it's a candy cane. I'll have to put this up on the project, or maybe I don't. What do you guys think? Should we put the stuff that Corwin sent me on the project wall, or is the project wall for just the stuff we make on the stream? You guys will have to let me know what you guys think. I'll put these over here on top of my desk, and this I'm just gonna put in my hair. If I can find where it goes, or where my hair is, you know. I got really thick hair. Let me do that. That works. Very nice. Very nice. I vote hang it up, all the goodies. Yeah, see, that's what I thought, right? If we hang up anything that you guys want me to, you know, send me or whatever, we can hang that up on the project wall, and it'll be like the community project wall. But when I told that to the butler, they suggested that I put it to a community vote, and we'll see, you know, what you guys think. But I really want to put all your stuff up there too. It's a little bit blank. I have a lot of stuff that I need to still hang up there, but I would love to stick some of you guys' stuff up there too. Alrighty, so the next thing I need to do is where is it? Right there. I need to take the I know what I'm talking about. I need to unhook the propane from the big forge, and we're going to put it on the mailbox today. We're going to be using the mailbox because it's going to do a really good job of going to do a really good job of heating up this stainless steel. Last year when we were working with stainless steel, we learned that it actually does not hold heat well, and it takes quite a bit of heat in order to be able to work effectively with it. So we're going to use the mailbox because it's kind of on the smaller side and it's way more efficient. Alrighty. Let's get this on here. If I'd have been organized, I'd have done this before stream started, but you know, these days I tend to be a little less than organized. It was all I could do to, like, you know, cut out the steel. I was actually debating between two projects today, whether I wanted to do the fork, there we go, or if I wanted to do a ladle. I decided I want to do a ladle. And so we'll see. We'll do it eventually. It's just probably going to be a little bit later on in the lineup, if that makes sense. Let me open that up just a little bit, and we'll start this guy up. All righty. Okay. Stick that stainless right in there. So I missed you guys on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I just was not feeling it. Where's my hammer? Is this my normal hammer? Maybe. I think so. I think this'll do. What size is the stainless? I just scored some 3/8 round on my steel buying trip earlier. I believe this is 1/2 inch. Because it's smaller than the 5/8 that I normally get, but it's bigger than the 1/4 inch that I normally get. So my guess would be 1/2 inch. It's been a really long time since I bought this stainless, so I don't know that for sure. Let me put my headphones on so I can hear myself a little better. You guys can hear me better than I can hear myself. It's crazy. All right. So as you can see, guys, I'm going to use the cross peen today. I have a spot in my shop with a lot of other stuff, or stuff others have made, but not raw materials. I mean, you know, it's great getting raw materials, but I love getting stuff that other people have made. You know, I still love raw materials too. It's going to give us a little bit more leeway and some interesting things that I've never been, or that I've not been able to play with before. I have played with a few springs, like truck springs, and that's kind of what I made my fencing foil, or not foils, they were rapiers out of. So we shall see. It was an almost drop. Hey, I fixed our drop counter. You can now reset it. The command is !reset drop, and but I've already reset it. So when I drop something, you guys feel free to count the number of times I drop things today. It's probably going to be a lot. So yes. It's great to get raws, but I only display others' finished projects. Yeah, most of the stuff that I've gotten that's been finished has been tools and things. So I haven't really had a chance to display anything yet. So this stuff that Corwin sent me, it's definitely, I think it deserves to go up on the project wall. So I think that's what we're going to do with it. I'm super excited. But yeah, I've gotten a couple different hammers from different smiths throughout the years. The one that you sent me, Knots, I have that one. And then I have the one that I used. I used to use this one a lot more, but I need to rehandle it. This one was given to me by one of my friends at the Metals Museum. So I've got a couple of them, you know, and then I have the one that I won from Christ Centered. So, you know, 3 hammers made by different smiths. It's a good start to a collection, but it's definitely a small collection. So I'm going to have to, you know, shell out some dollars and make some trades and maybe get some more. All right. Mailbox looks like it's getting pretty hot. That's pretty good. So yeah, I'm super excited today because I knew I was going to be using the mailbox for this project, and I was a little concerned on Wednesday before I just decided I had to cancel stream because it was super cold outside and the mailbox just not generate enough heat. So I knew I was gonna freeze, but I was still willing to do it until I got to this point where I felt like I couldn't breathe enough. I was hoping that it would go away and that I would feel better after I ate lunch, but it just did not. As many of you know, I do have a chronic illness that makes it really difficult for me to breathe sometimes. So I was having a really bad day on Wednesday, and I feel a lot better now. Still a little bit tired because when you just can't get enough air in your lungs, it's just exhausting continuing to try and breathe and trying to make that happen. So I can breathe again, you know, and I'm very excited about that, but I am a little bit tired. Oh, goodness gracious. It's great to be back out here. We were in the small shop for a little while, but you know what? The big shop is, you know, it's a lot more fun, I think. Gotta go safety meeting at 3. Those are important. Very important. I used to work at Amazon in one of their distribution warehouses as a picker. And I drove one of their like little, they're not really forklifts. They're kind of forklifts, but not really, because when you go up, you're riding it up, and like the forks are, you ride the forks with it, I guess. Anyway, so we used to have safety meetings for those all the time. And for the most part, they worked. There was one time where someone accidentally bumped into somebody, like a pedestrian, so that we had a much bigger safety meeting for that. I only lasted at that job for 4 whole days. But I mean, to be fair, I actually, and that's when I ended up getting the job at Jared, or I guess at Signet, for jewelry. So I had to pick between whether I wanted to do something that I loved, like the jewelry and the silver and the goldsmithing, or be a warehouse worker in Amazon, and I chose jewelry. I'm sure you guys can understand. It was not a very pleasant job, though. Good call. Yes, right? I do picking at my job sometimes, but usually picking or kitting, or packing or kitting. Yeah, I mean, it's a respectable job, and, you know, it wasn't bad, save for the fact that we were timed. So between items that we were picking, the less time, the better your score. And if your score got too low, you would end up getting fired. And at the time, I was on a water pill, and so I had to go to the bathroom like all the time. So I had a really low score, needless to say. So it, you know, I would have gotten fired from Amazon anyway. So I know I made the right call by going to the jewelry store. All right, how we doing on this steel, the stainless? Still a little on the cooler side. We're gonna leave it in there for just a little bit longer. One of my new coworkers used to work at Amazon and had many horror stories. Yeah. I had a few horror stories, but like I said, I only worked there for like 4 days, so you know, and it was like probably at this point it would have been like 7 years ago, so they're starting to fade from my memory a little bit. I think really the thing that I remember most was on the tour, and they were talking about where different items are packaged, and there was an entire aisle of adult toys, and that was very entertaining to see. They were all relatively discreetly packaged, though, so you know. But yeah. Needless to say, jewelry was a much better position for me. She was joking about having a cursed jar, but anytime people say Amazon, I mean, seriously, that's probably fair, you know, because a lot of people talk about Amazon a lot these days because it's such a prevalent shopping community or like site. You can buy just about anything on Amazon, and I mean, like I said, I bought my pickle, or not my pickle, my uh not pickle, it was my flux. I bought my flux on Amazon, you know? Right now, I do have Amazon Plus, but it's only because we're watching the Fallout show. That was it, so the last episode of that came out. So I don't know. We might end up getting rid of Amazon Prime for either Disney Plus because they've got a few Star Wars shows going on, or we might be getting Paramount Plus because there's a bunch of Star Trek we're not caught up on. Or maybe we'll keep Amazon and get rid of Netflix. One or the other. I'm big into geeky TV shows. All right. Let's see. We're still just a hair bit cold, but let's set up our press because I'm going to use the press for this. Like I said, this is a skill checkup, and using the press is one of the skills that we learned. So I'm going to try and do the drawing out on the press, and I might change to the face of the anvil eventually. But we're going to start on the press. All right. First things first, I got to plug it in the press. All right. Apparently it was empty. I just started Star Trek Discovery last week after getting caught up on Starfleet Academy. Lower Decks is up next. I really liked Discovery. There's some stuff in there that's kind of meh, but overall I liked it. I think my favorite is Strange New Worlds. I have not seen Starfleet Academy. I do really like Lower Decks though. It's pretty funny. At first I was like, I was a little leery about it because, you know, I like Star Trek. I don't want to make fun of it, but it you know, it was worth it. I'm pretty sure that the air hose that I had connected to the air compressor was leaking because it doesn't normally take that long to recompress. So I imagine that it's empty. So we'll have to wait a little bit before it recompresses that air, and hopefully it doesn't take too long. In the meantime, I'm going to change the camera angle. So we can see the press. That right there. What happened? Something screwy happened. I'm not entirely sure why we lost the screen for a little bit. Apologies for that. Let me check what was going on there. We lost the picture for a moment. We didn't drop frames, so I don't know what happened there. Weird. Apologies. It looks like everything is relatively still going now. I don't know why it like blinked out for us. No, don't jiggle the cable. That might have been it. I doubt it, but I don't know. Maybe. Alright. Seems like everything is all nice and plugged in correctly. Hey, it's finally done charging. So yeah, apologies for the picture blinking out. Hopefully that's the only time it does that. Or maybe it's frozen now. Give me a second. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. But I think it's gonna make me refresh my OBS. You're back. I don't know what happened, but my capture card froze for no apparent reason. Annoying. And okay, so it's not frozen. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's being stupid, and I don't know why it was. I apologize for that. Okie doke. Once this ad is over, we're going to start our first heat over on the press. I think we're all right again. Like I said, I have no idea what happened there. It's probably because I wiggled the cable. That's probably what it is. Mahalo, thank you so much for that subscription. A whole 12 months. Exciting. Thank you so much. Thank you for being such a big part of the community, and welcome to the stream. You got your shirt in the mail, I saw. That's really exciting. I'm super excited. I hope you like it. Just making sure that the cable between that camera and the capture card is nice and tight, so that we don't accidentally freeze again. Hi, it's really nice. Thanks. Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you for being here to win it on the 7th of January. It's been a while. I think that if we give away the next shirt, I think I need to do it it'll be a little bit quicker. I ended up having to buy a iron so that I could iron on the like decal, because I had an iron and I have no idea where it went. So I had to buy an iron. I had to find the shirt. It was just a big hairy deal, and it was an annoying mess. But now that I have all that taken care of, it should be a lot easier and a lot quicker between winning and delivery. Isn't it too warm to freeze down there? I mean, it should be. It's above 40 degrees Fahrenheit down here. So I don't know why my OBS was freezing. So it's being annoying is what it's being. All right, so the ad countdown went all the way to 0, and then it went away, and then the ad didn't start, and now the ad is it's counting down and another ad break. So I guess it just delayed, maybe? I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe I accidentally snoozed it because I stopped streaming or something. Weird. But yeah, we are going to be starting to do the first heat on this piece. And I mean, we've been going for 30 minutes, so I don't know. Maybe this is like, it is a little bit late, but you know, Twitch doing Twitch things with that. Yeah, that's what's happening. It does say that it's been snoozed one time, and I don't remember snoozing it, so I have no idea. I think that Twitch just automatically snoozed it, or maybe Ping snoozed it. I don't know. Twitch is tweaking a bit, probably. It's bugging a little bit. I think this is about as hot as it's gonna get right now for this piece. It's not too bad. That was weird. Let's try that again. Nope, seemed to be all right. I don't know. The mailbox kind of flickered a little bit, like it reignited itself. It like blew out and then reignited. That's weird. Normally it doesn't do that until there is less propane, but this is only take 2 on that propane tank, so I don't know. But yeah, like I said, I want to make sure that the ad is finished before I do our first heat. Once we get our first heat done, then we should be good to go. And I think between the two, I think it'll be all right. I think we'll go a lot faster once we start, because we're going to be using the press. So let's see. I got to come up with something that I want to use some of this new stock from, or new to me stock. We could make an entire set of punches and chisels and maybe some drifts. That would be a good project and a good thing to do with all of the coils, because, you know, coils are made of high carbon steel, and that makes some really good chisels and punches. Or we could do some smaller knives, like some blacksmith knives. Those are pretty decent with that type of steel. It's got that high carbon, so it'll hold its edge, but it's also kind of small, so you can put it in your pocket or, you know, carry it around. What else can we make with those? I don't know. Quite a few good things. I'll have to think on it. I really want to make a hold down out of the chain that Mahalo sent us. I'm thinking that we're probably going to put some hooks on either end of it. That way, axe bits. We could definitely make some axe bits out of that. That's very high carbon steel. And I do need to come up with something to put in there when we take our second crack at it. I really want to clean up the folded axe that we started last summer. And yeah, heavy duty tongs. Yes, we can make really skinny heavy duty tongs that have like a lot of spring. There are definitely sets of tongs that you can like hook closed and, you know, lock them in place. That would be a good idea. But yeah, there are a lot of different things that we can do with them. The first thing that we're going to have to do, though, is straighten them. And that's probably going to be an entire stream in and of itself, is straightening coil springs. Luckily, I have the giant forge here, and it'll make it a lot easier. The last time I unwound a coil spring, I ended up using the coal forge, and I decarburized it in several areas. So I got to be careful not to do that. So yeah. There's something the butler could do. Uncoil the coil springs. I mean, I think I'd be a little bit better at that. Instead of going to the gym, maybe. What are you up to? What's going on here? I don't know what's going on there. All right, let's do our first heat. And we're going to put the inset right there. Let's do this. It's a little on the cold side, so it's not really, it's going a little bit on the slow side. Or get much in the way of progress, but a little bit. Let's heat it up again. Put that there for now. Or we can drop it again, that works too. I suppose that counts as 2 drops. I forgot I had the Corwin's hairpin in. Yes. I think you actually have to wait a little bit before it'll work. It doesn't want to spam or whatever. So I don't know if it's like 30 seconds or what, but yeah. Just don't drop it on my feet. Yeah, that would not be pleasant. I do have steel toes on, so it shouldn't be that bad, but still, you know, never pleasant to drop things on my feet. So the pressed dies are a little bit on the colder side, so they're really sucking the heat out of the stainless steel. Stainless steel does not hold heat very well. It's not very easy to keep. I guess it takes a lot of extra effort to heat it up, and then it just cools down a lot faster than your normal mild steel or high carbon steels. So it's going to take a little bit of time for our dies to warm up. So the beginning is going to take a little bit more time. But as we continue going, the dies will start warming up. It'll suck less of the heat out, and we'll be able to move a little bit faster. Otherwise, we can just go to the anvil face, and I'll just, you know, do the manual thing over the horn of the anvil. Like I said, I want to finish this piece today. And so I don't know. We'll see what we feel like about halfway through the stream, just to see if we can't speed things up a little bit on the anvil, or if we can continue working on the press. I'm going to move it in there just a little bit further. Alrighty. I love working stainless. The not scaling part is nice, considering I'm usually in shorts and sandals, right? I mean, see, I'm not brave enough to forge in shorts and sandals. The bravest I am is, when it's hot, I'll forge in short sleeves. But I love I have to have the pants on. And the butler insists that I wear steel toes out here because, you never know when you're going to drop something. I'm very bad at dropping things. All right, let's do another heat. Like I said, I want to get through this today, so I'm going to do a lot of talking, but I'm going to do a lot of forging at the same time. Or at least that's the plan, is to do talking and forging at the same time. If I can get this piece out, it would be nice. I mean, I pushed it in so that I could get more heat, and then, yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's do this. Squishy. A little bit more there. Not too bad. Oh no, it's a bot. We'll get rid of that. We don't need to buy viewers. We got plenty of good ones here. Much better to have high quality viewers than a high quantity of viewers. Man, I go to get a drink, right? That's always how it be, when you're indisposed, that's when the bots come. Okay, we're good. It looks like it was taking a little bit of extra time for the press to go up. So I went to see if maybe I was having a little bit of issue with the die not being quite touching the top. Just got me morning coffee. Morning coffee's good. Got to make sure that you're awake and alert. Get that caffeine intake. Hey, Yankee, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. I think I'm actually going to pull a set of scrolling tongs and stick them over there, so in case I have some trouble getting the piece out of the mailbox, I can pull it out a little bit with those, because I had a little bit of trouble pulling the steel out last heat. But I really want to get towards that center area. That's where there's a hot spot in there. The hottest section of the mailbox is directly underneath of where the burner is. And so I want to get as hot as I can. I had dew on my drive earlier, and I don't feel like it's done anything for me. Mountain Dew doesn't do anything for me anymore, except for take the shakes away. I'm so addicted to caffeine these days that it doesn't wake me up anymore. It just kind of feeds the addiction. It's one of those things. Like when I first started art school, I was like, I want to make sure that all of my art is my art, and I don't really want to do art impaired, and so I don't want to be too into the recreational fun things. And but caffeine, it just happened. Something screwy is going on. I don't know why. I don't know why. I bet that might actually be why. I think it'll be okay. Hello there, how are things? It's fork time. Hey, Dr. Optimal. Things are pretty good. I am kind of fighting the mailbox a little bit. I think what happened is the burner has slipped a little bit. There is a set screw right there, and I think it loosened up because I think this tie, or the little thing, it's not centered in the hole on the elbow, so I think it's having a little bit of trouble sucking the oxygen in, and it's kind of being weird. I think that it'll be okay. It's not something that I can really mess with while the forge is on, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be good. Let's do another heat. Can we get them in there? Get them open enough? No. I knew that was going to happen. That's why I put these scroll tongs here. All right. To get a little bit of movement. You can kind of see the crinkle cut French fry going. Man, I had to reset the stream, and now the timer is off by half an hour, so I gotta kind of remember that we already streamed a half an hour before I had to reset. So I don't know, maybe I'll forget and you guys will get an extra half an hour out of me. That seems likely, like something I would do. But yeah, We want to get this piece nice and thin. I want to make a really delicate handle for this fork. So I started with a 3-inch piece of stainless steel, and I want to double the length of where the handle is. I've left myself 1 inch for the tines themselves, so we can split them and make them nice and thin and delicate fork tines. And then, like I said, I want to do a really nice and thin, long handle. We'll see whether we have enough length to create some nice corkscrews or some curves or anything like that, or if it's just going to be a flat, long, skinny piece. I'm kind of freestyling this a little bit, but we are kind of doing a little bit of a check-in because we made a set of silverware last year around this time. And I mean, we've been forging for an entire year, and I feel like my skill in blacksmithing has gotten a lot better since I started. I started really rusty, and I think we've shaken the rust off, and now we're getting to this point where we're really starting to take our basic knowledge and experiment with it. I've been doing a lot of more complicated projects that I don't necessarily know exactly how to do them, but I have a good idea and I have a good core foundation of techniques from blacksmithing. And so that allows me to kind of experiment and problem solve and create some lovely pieces. So I'm hoping, that we can come up with something good for this fork. And I want it to be a little bit of a stretch of some of those basic fundamentals that we have been learning throughout our time together over the last year. Yeah, I think that it's because the skinny pipe is not, or it's too low. I think that's why it keeps skipping on me. All right, I'm going to change the camera angle a little bit. We've had quite a few of that angle, so we're going to try another angle. A little bit more differenty. Not too differenty, but differenty enough. Then it gives us a little bit of variety. Trying not to hang it weird, too. All right, let's do this. Hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you guys so much for the raid. I did not catch who is raiding, but thank you so much for that raid. If admins could give me a shout out, that would be amazing. Thank you so much. Welcome to the stream. Hi, I'm Ray. I am a blacksmith. Today, Shingami 671. Awesome. Thank you so much for that raid. Also, the Jack of some trad. Thank you. The Jack of some trades. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. I'm Ray. I am a blacksmith. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 Eastern U.S. time. Today we are working on making a stainless steel fork. So we are using my smaller forge here, and we are using my press. About a year ago, we streamed a full set of silverware, but we've gained an entire year's worth of experience and learning, and so we are checking in on our skill this year. Last year, our fork was kind of it was all right, but this year I really want to make something beautiful and delicate, and I really want to stretch my skills. Nisix, thanks for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I'm most often a lurker, but I'm happy to be here. Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't even know how people did blacksmithing on Twitch. There's a few of us here and there, but yeah, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I try to be relatively consistent with my stream schedule. I'm probably the most consistent blacksmith here on Twitch, but there are a number of blacksmiths who do stream here on Twitch. We're all in the maker crafter category. Some of us are in real life, so it's kind of when we do real life, we gotta get buried by some of the higher number streamers. But we're here, we're around. Need to raid and run, but nice to meet you. Well, thank you so much. Welcome, and I hope to see you again later. I'll try and check you guys out as well. Shingami, thank you so much for that follow. Thank you, thank you. I've always wanted to get into blacksmithing. I can't have a new hobby though, otherwise my wife might actually hurt me. But I've always been intrigued. Yeah, blacksmithing is such a amazing and fun hobby, and I love it personally. But it can become a very expensive hobby. You can get started for a lot, or like for a little bit of money. I think I got started for about $70, $80. I built my own forge. Somebody gave me my anvil, but I also have pieces of just steel that you like. Large pieces of just mild steel from the scrapyard. I inherited a hammer, and then it can be as expensive as you want it to be. I mean, I've put several $1,000s into my blacksmithing kit, but I mean, this is what I do for a living, so I feel like it's understandable. You're badass. Okay, bye. So yeah, welcome and thank you for joining us. If you have to leave, have a wonderful rest of your day. I will be back here on Monday at 2:30 Eastern U.S. time. So let's do another heat and see how this goes. We're gonna keep on keeping on. The goal is to get this done all the way today, but it might take us a little bit of time on Monday. A lot of times I'm really bad at estimating how long these projects are going to take me. So I try my best, but I usually end up an extra day from my estimate. So let's see how this goes. guys, does that count as a drop? It didn't drop all the way onto the floor. You'll have to tell me. Let me know. Cool, I love your spark. That's my tendency, sadly. I should try this cheap set for a hobby. Actually, just let me upgrade to the professional quality items, right? Yes. There was no clink. There was no clink. It went from the jaws to the bottom of the I-beam. So, I don't know. Is that a real drop? You guys will have to let me know. So this is a 20-ton press. So 20 tons of pressure comes down from the piston onto the piece of steel that we are working with. The piece of steel, it started out as a 3-inch long, 1/2-inch wide piece of stainless steel. Our forge gets up to about 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. So some little fun facts for things that happen here in the shop. I'm always happy to answer questions about blacksmithing, about my shop, about, whatever is happening here, and also myself. So yeah, feel free. That's my favorite thing to do. I mean, I'll talk about just about anything, but my favorite thing is to answer questions about blacksmithing and metalsmithing. So as far one of the common questions that I get a lot is, do you make weaponry like swords and knives, and do you make armor? I have made weaponry and sharps before. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I have done them in the past. I do armor. We just finished making a piece of armor. This is a shoulder piece. It goes right here. This is actually the Mandalorian shoulder piece. And this right here is the mud horn I have to affix to the side of it. I guess it goes this direction. I gotta pay attention because I bent this specifically so that it would go on here. And I think I did it right, but it goes this way. Yeah. I gotta pay attention though. So yeah, this is the Mandalorian shoulder. It needs a lot of cleanup. This is what it looks like straight out of the forge. So all of this is oxidation and forge scale. So if I want to shine it up, then I need to take it into my other shop so that I can grind it and polish it up. Have you ever worked with powdered steels like SVN35 or CPM 15 or like 154? I have not actually used any powdered steels. They are typically used when making Damascus steel, or I guess pattern welded steel. I don't do a lot of pattern welded steel. I'm still relatively new to forge welding in general. So it's something that I would like to try sometime in the future, but I'm still not quite there yet. What I am planning on doing some pattern welded steel this year. Hopefully I can make that happen. But in the meantime, we're just hanging out and doing what we can. My best friend from uni is a blacksmith too. At his wedding, he and his wife had an anvil at the altar. It was very sweet. That would be cool. My partner and I did not get married in the shop. But we did have our wedding reception at an archery range. So I guess that's kind of interesting. But yeah, we are in the middle of an ad break. I thought it was fun. Darn it. I really need to adjust this burner. Wonders if I can do it. Is it hot? Yeah, it's not something I can do right. It's not hot, but it's not something that I can do in an ad break. So what's the ad break? There's a couple of questions in chat, and I'll totally answer them, but I want to wait until the ad is over because we've got an ad going on. I hate ads. As much as I need the money that they generate, you know, it's nice to have. I hate doing them. Oh, you're not in ads. See, some people are and some people aren't, you know? So I think the first one I saw was, how long have I been a blacksmith? I started blacksmithing in 2010. And then in 2020, I had to take a break. And the reason I had to take a break is because I got sick, very, very sick. And it took me about 4 years to recover. So I started it up again about a year ago. So in 2024, I started streaming here, and I've been streaming for this whole year. And we're coming up on, you know, we're starting year 2. So I'm super excited to keep on keeping on. I'm getting stronger as we go. Glad you were able to cover. Yes. And Corwin, I did not shoot my bouquet because I did not have a bouquet. I actually got married in my blacks. I used to be a wedding decorator and a wedding videographer, right? So I was tired of weddings by the time it was time for my own. So I wore a black button-up shirt, a black pair of pants. We went to the justice of the peace, and then I wore jeans and a t-shirt to my reception. Really great to hear that you've made a recovery. Yes, I'm also very glad. I would have been so sad to not be able to come back out here. I mean, the 4 years that I was recovering, I was always really sad that all of my stuff out here, like my anvil, it was just rotting out here. It got a little bit rusty. I was able to, you know, recover it all and make sure, clean it all up and stuff. It's still good. It's just, I hated not having it in use, you know? Let's do another heat. Let me check my camera. I record everything that I do. Everything that you guys see on the cameras, I record it and then I edit it for YouTube. So if you want to see in quick succession how this works, you can look up my YouTube. There's another drop. So I use half round dies when I am smushing our steel. So it kind of creates a crinkle cut fry shape. And so for our last heat, what I was doing was I was focusing in on those raised sections to kind of flatten everything out a little bit. That also allows it to grow a lot faster. Yes, it has been dropped again. My stupid lever, I'm always dropping that thing. Kind of a pain that you had to recover your shop while you're also recovering yourself. Yeah. It wasn't too bad. My main thing that I had to recover, the worst part of that was there are different types of propane forges, right? So the most durable are the ones that are made out of fire refractory brick. And that's what these two are both. But my previous forge was made out of a fire resistant blanket, like it's called KO wool. And basically, it's a lot like asbestos, so you can't really inhale it, or you'll get a really awful sickness. Anyway, normally what you do is you will cover that with a rigidizer and a refractory cement, right? Well, while I was recovering, my forge was falling apart. So by the time I came back, I couldn't actually use that same forge. I had to build a brand new one. And that's this one right here. Chat, we're going to possibly need to use duct tape so she doesn't drop it anymore, right? As a passing enthusiast, I'm aware of some of the terminology around the hobby, but I don't fully understand. Can you help me understand the difference between annealing and normalizing? I didn't understand from the Googling I've done. Oh, and tempering. Okay. So the difference between tempering, annealing, and normalizing is the question. So when you are forging, you are manipulating and crushing and moving around all of the molecules inside of the steel, right? And as you are using the hammer and the press, they kind of start shifting in odd and unusual ways, right? And so what normalizing is you heat up the steel and you allow it to cool, right? And that breaks, kind of not necessarily breaks the bonds, but it realigns the bonds. It realigns the crystalline structure within the steel. So annealing is relaxing that crystalline structure. And annealment, basically, it makes those crystals really big, so that they move around a lot and it's soft, right? And when you are tempering steel, that's hardening it. So when you are hardening it, you are reducing the size of those crystals in the crystalline structure. And so it makes them very brittle. So or I guess that's the hardening, right? Tempering is when you start relaxing the crystalline structure so it softens it a little bit. Does that make sense? Tempering is the dunking in the water oil bit. So I have heard that both the quenching is called tempering, but also but that's also like hardening, right? But it's also called tempering when you put the steel back in the forge to get that straw yellow color. That's actually what tempering is. That's the technical term for that. Is putting a little bit of softness back into the steel so it doesn't break if you drop it. When you quench your steel, you bring it up to the hardening temperature and you quench it in oil or water or air. Usually it's oil, not all the time. Anyway, it's very brittle. So right after you quench it, if you drop it, like I often do, it'll break. You'll have two pieces of steel instead of one. So that's why you need to temper them. So basically what you do is you start heating the quenched steel and you look for a straw yellow color. And that's a little bit around the 200 to 300 degree mark. And that will relax those crystals a little bit and make it a lot sturdier. Does that make sense? Have I explained that properly? What do we got here? That's an emote I've never seen. Oh, taking notes. So yeah, that's my understanding of it, at least. That's what I was taught by a couple of metallurgists that I talked to one night. Does the process differ between high carbon and stainless? Only in the temperatures, the desired temperatures. Every alloy of steel has a different temperature for each of those processes that you must reach. I'm going to do another heat while we're talking. So there is actually a metallurgical guide to every different alloy of steel that one works with, and you can find a lot of them online. And it will tell you the temperatures that you need to reach for each of those processes. So those data sheets will also tell you whether your steel is an air quenching steel, a oil quenching steel, or a water quenching steel. So this block of steel right here, this is a block of A2. The A stands for air cool. So if I were to heat this guy up and quench it in oil, it would crack. If I were to quench it in water, it would crack a lot faster. Now, a high carbon steel, typically like your 1095, which is one of the best knife making, one of the better knife making steels. That is an oil quenching steel. So that's why when you watch, Forged in Fire, you always see them quenching in oil. Now, most of the steel that I work with is a low carbon steel. It's 1019, and that is water quenching steel. So if you quench something if you quench the steel in something that's going to cool it faster, it ends up cracking. So no quenching on those tool steels. This A2 tool steel, it's an air quenching tool steel, so no quenching on that. You just sit it on I normally just set it on this thing to cool down. Your 1095, which is also a tool steel, but it's mostly a knife making tool steel. You can quench that in oil. It's an oil quenching steel. A2 and O2 and those. Like I said, it depends. You can kind of read on your data sheet, or on their appropriate data sheets. Now, if you have an unknown steel and you want to be careful with it, what you do is you start with air quenching, because that's the slowest quench, and then you take a file and you run the file over the piece of steel, and if it bites, it's still soft, so you'll need to quench it a lot faster, right? So then you heat it back up and you quench it in oil, and then you run your file on it again. And if it slides across, it's hard, and you've found what it quenches with, right? If it cracks, then you want to go back up to air, and if it bites in, then you want to use water. I love the word quenching. O2 is oil quenching. W1 and W2 are water quench. Yes, usually, like not always, but usually if there's a letter in front of your steel, oftentimes that letter corresponds to what it quenches in. Not all the time, like 1019 and 1095, those don't have a letter in front of them. Those are basically the second set of two numbers. So like the 15, or I mean the 19 or the 95, that actually denotes how much carbon is in the alloy. So a 1019 is a very low carbon steel, while a 1095 is a really high carbon steel. I had no idea what that was about. Yeah, like I said, I love answering these types of questions. I have a lot of book smarts. I'm not always the best at the actual forging part, but I have a lot of book knowledge. S7 is also air quench, but it's shock resistant. Yes. Good, because I have mucho questions. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. It also makes good shorts for YouTube. I tend to make little clips from the live streams and I turn them into shorts for YouTube. So, you know, if you've got a good question, you might see the answer on YouTube. What are your favorite things to make? Some of my favorite things to make are armor, frying pans. I really love working with sheet steel. I got into blacksmithing from silversmithing. In silversmithing, it's working with non-ferrous metals and turning them in, or flat sheet, into vessel shapes. So like bowls and teapots and cups and all sorts of things like that. So I really love combining silversmithing techniques with steel. So I think that kind of stuff is fun. I also really love making furniture, which I haven't done any furniture since I restarted blacksmithing. But maybe one day we'll make a piece of furniture. I used to make a lot of chairs and coffee tables and benches and things like that. Do you have a dream of making something that you feel is currently out of your reach, whether by skill or equipment? If so, what is it? Ooh, that's a really complicated question. I would say that it is my dream, it is my nightmare actually, to make a Damascus steel, or I guess pattern welded steel, chef's knife for my partner. The butler is what we call my partner in chat. But I think that it would be really nice to make a pattern welded steel chef's knife. And I'm not very good at forge welding, for one. Two, I absolutely despise grinding things. And that takes a lot of very precise grinding. So it's also going to be a nightmare for that reason. And three, it's just steel's getting real expensive, and I don't have any good nickel based steels. So I think it would be a little bit harder for me to make that for now. They do take a lot of grinding. It would be amazing to own one of those. Yeah, they're typically very expensive. I will answer, like, remind me by the time I finish this next heat to answer the question about how difficult is it to fold the steel. I'll answer it just after this. Well, I let it go all the way up. That's all right. We're starting to cook. If and when you make some, I would be a happier. Let me know. I'll be a happy customer. Right now, I'm not selling any of my pieces because I just don't feel like I can price them at an adequate level because of how long it takes me to do things. So for now, if I give away my stuff, it'll be because I want to, but I am not charging for my stuff right now. As far as how easy or difficult it is to fold steel, it varies by how complex you want the fold to be and what method that you are folding, right? So if you're talking like tamakagane, which is how they make katanas in Japan, like the classical methods, it can be relatively complex because you have to be very careful that you're not ripping your steel as you're folding. Typically, what you would do is you would cut the steel with a hot cut and about halfway through, and then use the heat to fold it and reforge weld it. So it can be relatively simple, but it depends on how far into the process you are. The earlier it is, the harder it gets because the steel isn't homogenized yet. If you're talking not American, but Western, I'm gonna say Western, even though that's not accurate at all. Pattern welded steel. A lot of knife makers, what they'll do is they'll use a bandsaw and just cut the pieces and then restack them, weld them together, and then continue working. That can be relatively easy, but it can also be very complex depending on what pattern you're trying to achieve. So something like a ladder pattern, you know, that's going to be relatively easy. You're going to be doing a lot of your restacking before you mess with the pattern and manipulate it. But if you're doing something more akin to a tile, mosaic tile style restack, that's going to be a lot more challenging because you're going to be cutting in diagonals and restacking them and turning them and doing weird manipulating patterns. Western Damascus is fake news. Yeah, I mean, like I said, pattern welded steel, it's not really Western. There's pattern welded steel all over the world, but maybe more modern pattern welded. Maybe that's a better qualifier. It's implied by a smithy versus a forger versus, or what's implied by a smithy versus a forge or a foundry. The reason that my channel is called Ray's Smithy is because I'm not just a blacksmith. All last week, we were in my silversmithing shop. So I have two Twitch streaming areas in my shop. So this is my blacksmithing area, and then I have a silversmithing area in another part of my property. And so that's why I use smithy, because I am a goldsmith, I'm a silversmith, I'm a blacksmith. So smith is just forging metal or working with metal. As far as a forge, that is a blacksmithing, or I guess technically a forge is this thing right there. Oftentimes we call an entire blacksmith shop a forge, but an actual forge is just these things right here, the things that heat your metal. I also have a coal one over there. And a foundry, that's relatively unrelated to blacksmithing. A foundry melts metal and pours it as a liquid. So yeah. Hopefully that answers your questions. But yeah, I love all of this. I do too. That's why I'm out here. That's why I love answering questions. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm all for answering questions, you know? It's fun talking about it. It's like what I have a little bit of the ADHD, and blacksmithing and metalworking is my special interest. So I can talk about it all day. Ugh. My forge keeps misfiring. What's happening is the burner, there's a little pipe inside of a bigger pipe, and there is an open hole. So like this thing right here and that thing right there, they are a T, like a black iron pipe T. And so the little pipe floats in the open area, and normally it floats about halfway down the open area, and that's how that allows it to get all of the oxygen that it needs to continue burning and to get that high heat, right? Well, my set screw loosened, and so it dropped a little bit, and so it keeps misfiring. If I were just starting, what pieces would you recommend to try to smith? Yes, Corwin is right. Hooks, bottle openers, and leaves. I would also recommend, once you've done a few hooks and leaves, making your own set of tongs are really, really good projects, because you have to draw out the reins, which is the handles. You kind of have to start shaping the jaws, and you also need to like learn to punch and rivet. So those are all very basic, very useful techniques that you can use for a lot of different projects. My brother's forge does not does intro classes for chopsticks, knives, and ornaments. Nice. I will allow that. The auto mod caught Hooker because, you know, it could be a thing, you know. But I understand that you were referring to making hooks. I'm just being a silly goose. Yeah. All right. We've got an ad in about a minute and a half, and I believe tongs, shut your mouth. I hate tongs, but it is often necessary, right? I'm gonna try and beat the ad. Winning. Normally I can, and I think I should be able to in this case. See if I can't finish this heat before the ad starts. Maybe not. I forgot I let it open all the way. Hoping this was going to be a one-day project, but I keep yakking, so I think it's going to be a 2-day project. This is what happens when you spend all your time talking and none of your time forging. Okay, I've got to go de-stream, but thank you so much for streaming. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us as long as you did. Hope to see you sometime soon. Is it a fun game in different streams to see which words are auto-modded, right? I never changed the auto-mod settings, so it's whatever the Twitch default is. So there's a lot of weird ones that it does pick up, because there's a lot of weird technical words that I end up using in blacksmithing. Sometimes I talk about glass blowing, and there's a lot of really weird technical terms and jargon in glass blowing. And so, yeah. You'd think there's enough crochet artists on Twitch that they'd back off of Hooker, right? That's what they call people who crochet. Oh, come on. You can do it. Mailbox, you can do it. And to all the League of Legends players that play those engaged characters with their hooks. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with League of Legends. Certain parts of chicken. Yeah, I mean, context makes a word, you know? That's why I always look to see when the auto mod catches. Sometimes I will, ban them, but most of the time I usually just allow them. And the musicians. Yes, context is king. Context. Urgh. I don't know why I have a whole bunch of scale all over my anvil. I'm not even using the anvil today. So once this ad is over, because the thing said that there was an ad coming, so once it's over, I will do another heat. What time is it? 3:15 my time. Okay. So we've got about 45 minutes left in the stream-ish. Might have flaked off my knife blank. It might have. I did put those over there. Can you do welding on magnetized metals? Smithing. Verbs. I'm not entirely sure what the implication is. Because, yeah, you can definitely weld on magnetic metals. Even when they are magnetized typically, it's like there are different welding processes though. So it could be, is it because it's starting to frost up? No, it's not. I don't know why it is. I think it's just slipping down. But yeah, I've got a flux core welder, which is analogous to a MIG welder, but I don't have the bottle of gas, like the shielding gas. Metals at forging temperature lose their magnetism and they have to be remagnetized after cooling. Yeah, that's very much the case. But it doesn't take quite that much to remagnetize them, usually. Like a big block of magnetic iron, could you turn it into forks? Same process. If you're talking about true iron, you can forge it, but it has a much higher temperature or forging temperature, and you have to be really careful with it. True iron is actually really brittle. That's why you tend to see old school smiths used to use, what is it? Not cast iron. I don't know why I always want to call it cast iron, but it's wrought iron. That's when they fold in and forge weld together, and kind of alloy in some carbon and stuff. Yes, wrought. See, Lexi's got me covered. Yeah, so it's really hard to forge straight, pure iron. Oh, that's what that word means. Yeah. So it's kind of like adding in a little bit of carbon and forge welding it together, kind of making it a lot more ductile. Okay. Did I miss the ad? I don't know what's going on. It doesn't look like I'm in an ad, so I think I'm just going to do another heat. Stop misfiring. You make me nervous. getting a small taper in there. Like I said, I think this is going to take 2 streams to get it good. I want to double the length. I think we've grown about an inch at this point. Hey, Jack. I thought I saw you earlier. Are you back? I am currently moving the camera so I can get some good angles. That's going to be too close to my shoulder. I'm going to be blocking the view. No point in having a view that I block myself, you know? I don't know that this is actually all that different than what it was before. Yeah, had to lay down a bit back in a rough way. Saw Corwin's wonderful box, though. Yeah, that was a wonderful box. I'm super excited to play with it. All of the lovely things in there. I got to put scales on the knife and do all of the grinding. My favoriteest part. But yeah, welcome back. I hope your back feels a little bit better. I know that I have a lot of trouble with my back. I have scoliosis, though. It's kind of mild, but I don't know. Maybe you guys have seen it when I turn my back to you guys. So yeah, I totally get the whole my back hurts thing. We'll see. Yeah, it'd be nice, though. I think fell from a high place with a heavy thing. Doctor on the 15th. Ooh. It's slow going right now, but I mean, like I said, it's stainless steel, so stainless takes a lot of extra effort to play with. It takes a little bit longer to forge. I am currently thinking that maybe I'll do another heat or two on the press and then spend a little time here on the anvil, see if I can't get it to work a little faster. Stainless is a bastard. In a way less eloquent way. Yes, it's so hard to forge. Not nearly as hard as the A2, though. I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I'll just use the press. You know, it'll be fast. It's a lot easier to forge than A2. And here I am. Maybe I need to hand forge it. I don't know. I bet you could draw that out faster at the anvil. See, that's what I'm thinking, right? I have no idea, but I think that I might be able to. I feel like you picked the hardest steels for having a smaller frame. I mean, but I mean, I have a smaller frame and I picked blacksmithing for my career. I have to make things hard on myself. I mean, I have a press. At least I'm not hand forging everything. I made a fork once out of 1080. It came out perfect. I quenched it before grinding it and forgot. I taped it on the anvil and I tapped it on the anvil and it shattered. Ooh, that would make me very sad. Like I said, no offense or judgment about it. Respect, if anything. I have this thing where I look at something that's really hard and I just have to try it, you know? It's like anything you can do, I can do too. Not that, you know, not everything though, because I definitely, you know, I don't try everything, but a lot of stuff I do. Yeah. All right, let's try another heat. I think this will be the last one on the press for a little bit. I think I want to try a little bit of hand forging. We'll see how far we can get with that. If nothing else, I'll be able to straighten it out. I'm getting some bends in it. Back in the heat. This hairpin's doing a pretty good job of staying in my hair. I'll need to bend it just a little bit further if I want it to go all the way around my hair, and that way I won't have to use the hair tie. But it's staying in there pretty darn good. Very well made, Corwin. Thank you. Oh, speaking of hairpins, guys, my video came out on Wednesday. I forgot all about it. I put out the hairpin video, the one that we made together. So that is up on YouTube for you guys to enjoy. Our next video is going to be on the trivet that we made a couple weeks ago. And then from there, we're going to do the piece of armor that we did. I can think about things. I'm going to move the camera real fast. Oh, come on. Forge, mailbox. Be nice. Be nice to me. Oh, I need to tighten the set screw. Alright, we'll see how well this does. You guys get to see the tiny bit of surface rust that is currently on my crosspeen right now from lack of use. Because we spent a week in the silversmithing shop, and before that we were using other hammers. So I gotta redress this thing. I think it'll be alright though for what we're doing here. Legasp. I know. I'm such a stickler about dressing hammers, and here I am with a rust-covered face. The worst. Legasp. All right. Hey, Jaden Fox, I think. Or Jalden Fox. Hello, welcome to the stream. Hi. I tried to put the machining oil I use for the lathe ways on most of my metal tools. That makes sense. What do the hammers wear? Yeah, dressing a hammer is a really weird way of saying polish the face, right? So right now I have a bunch of surface rust on here, and so it kind of pits it out a little bit. And you want to make sure that the face of your hammer is nice and clean and polished, because any marring or surface texture on the face of your hammer gets transferred every hammer blow onto your steel. Right now, this is surface rust. It's not nearly enough of a texture to really do terribly much, But if you're doing some small scale stuff or some sheet, you definitely want a pristine hammer face that you're going to be using to hammer with, or you're going to start putting little divots, dimples, and dents in your stuff. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but rusts less. I mean, as long as it rusts less, it's better than nothing, right? We are doing our first heat here on the anvil face. We'll see how far I can get. First things first, we're gonna kind of thin out the tip a little bit. And then we're gonna flatten it out. Whew. And now we're gonna heat it up again. We've gotten rid of all of those little crinkle cuts. Yeah, it's hammer time. Hammer, hammer. Hopefully we'll get a little bit more of a movement and some more length. My goal is to create a really nice, thin, wispy handle for this fork. We shall see. I want it, overall, I just want it to be nice and pristine and pretty. A lot of my stuff I do very quick and dirty. Well, my version of quick at least. So you can kind of see there's like a bunch of hammer marks that I just left in these, and they're not shaped quite right, and you know, for this fork, I want it to be nice and pretty. Take a little bit of extra time to kind of flatten things out and do a little bit of extra work. All right. Mailbox is not happy with me. So I have 3 forges in this shop. I have this big forge that I can use for really large projects. I've got the teeny forge here, which is, it's specifically for like small knife making. And I like to use that when I have small pieces of stock. And then I also have a coal forge that's over there. And typically I have to pull that out of the shop and into my driveway before I use that because I don't have a good flume for it. Still working on that. I have a design that I saw that I want to use, but I haven't built it yet. All right, let's do another heat. Oh, come on. More heat. What's the ballpark cost to acquire a mailbox sized forge with 1 burner? I think Corwin actually sent me a link at one point, and I think it was $127 for the mailbox with the burner. But I don't know that the designer of that forge is still around. They were relatively old when I purchased that from them, so I'm not sure if anyone actually sells that design. It's relatively simple because it's basically just one fire brick that you drill through. But yeah. The closest you could get is the Atlas Forge at Atlas Knife and Tool. I'm sure I could look up the design specs. Yeah, like I said, it's basically the main hole is drilled all the way through the brick, and when I say brick, it's just one of these, and then there's a hole in the middle in the top, and that's where the burner goes. And I mean, it's not my design, so I don't feel comfortable giving measurements and stuff, but they're out there. You can find it. Also, the butler told me that I shouldn't give out tool specifications so that I can't get sued. Not that I think that you guys would sue me, but you know, maybe someone on YouTube watches and tries it for themselves and injures themselves. But yeah, I think Corwin's got a line on that Atlas forge. I think my next forge after this one dies, I'm looking into getting a chili forge if I can manage it. Chili Forge is one of the oldest forge manufacturers in the United States, and they are amazing. They will customize your forge for your or for what you want to forge. So that would be my ideal, but they are relatively expensive. I think the last time I had them give me an estimate for the forge that I wanted, it was going to be about $1,500, and that was probably 10 years ago. So something I need to save up for, but yeah. I also do a lot larger scale things, so you know that's probably also a factor. I think we're making a lot more progress here on the face of the anvil, but also it's exhausting me because it's such a hard material. So I don't know. We'll get through it. What's that? Oh, my ad is about to start. That's what it says. I was like, what? Isn't stainless fun? I mean, it totally is. The reason I like to do my silverware in stainless is because then it makes it a lot more food safe. You know, you don't have to worry about cooking oil or seasoning or wax or anything like that. You can just use it. So I suffer through the stainless, and it's not as bad as A2, you know? So there's that. I work a lot with A2 because at one point I was able to get it for like pennies pennies on the dollar because it was offcuts and nobody wanted it. So they just pretty much gave it to me. So that's what this guy is right here. We've made a couple of different steaks out of it. We made a hot cut out of it. So it works. It's not fun. But in the end, it makes great tools. Charles at Atlas Knife and Tool is my hero just for designing and making the 180 railroad spikes. Those things are awesome. Oh, the 1080. Yeah, there are so many people who love having railroad spike knives. And in order to get a good edge on that, it used to be that you had to do like a sand mai and lay in a blade for them. And those 1080 railroad spikes let you just make a straight up blade, you know? It's a lot easier. I think Corwin sent me 2 of those. We'll have to see what we can do with them. I saw somebody on YouTube, I can't even remember who it was, took one of those railroad spikes and cut it as though it was a Friedrich's cross and made a dagger out of it. That was kind of cool. So like the top with the spike, or like the head of the spike became like the guard, and then one side of the like the spike part became the blade and the other side became the handle. It was pretty cool looking. I wish I remembered who did it though, so that I could give credit. Oh, those are regular HC spikes, a little less carbon than 1045. See, that's still fine. You know, that's still more carbon than most of the spikes that I have had in the past. Most of the ones that I've had were like the low carbon spikes. So we'll make some pretty things out of them. It'll be fun. There's always railroad spike bottle openers and all kinds of stuff. So once this next ad that's coming up ends, I will do another heat here on the anvil. And I think we've got about half an hour left in our stream time. Something like that. Because we had a reset. So we'll see. Forging on the face of the anvil is starting to tire me out a little bit faster. Might be good for a tomahawk. Yeah. I'll have to look up a design for that though. I don't think I've ever seen a tomahawk, a railroad spike tomahawk. So yeah, I'll have to look that up. I think it's getting colder out. It was like in the mid 40s Fahrenheit earlier, and now my toes are getting cold. But yeah. Really? Really? Got an ad break ending pretty shortly here. All right. I think we're about done, so I think I'm going to do my next heat. And then I might change the angle, because changing the angle is interesting. I'm holding this hammer really dumbly. All right, we're starting to get there. Got a decent amount of length. I want to thin it out a little bit more though. This would be a really good width and length if we were going to just do a twist. We'd want to do a little bit of isolation right around here to kind of separate the tongs from the handle. But that's actually a relatively decent handle width for just a twist. I'm going to do something a little bit more fancy though. That's my goal. Change the angle on the camera. Bring it over this way. I'm going to do a little bit of work on the horn, I think. So I want to get you guys a good angle. Let me see if I can't step over the cord and reach where I want it to be, like right there. That'll work. Now I gotta go around the other side. Okie doke. Alrighty. Couple more heats and I'll probably raid off for the day. Like I said, I'm getting a little bit tired from doing the hand hammering. All right, let's do this heat. Put that there, and then I can put the inset right there. Yeah. That'll be a good inset. More heat. I posted a few good variations of railroad spiked tomahawks in the Discord. Awesome, I'll take a look at them. I will take a look at them. There's like a tiny half a sip of water left in the bottom of that thing, and of course I inhale it instead of drink it. I'll be okay though. All right, I think I'm gonna do 2 more heats, and then we'll probably raid off. We will finish this fork on Monday, and I think we're going to be starting a spoon for our next piece. So once we finish the fork, we'll start a spoon. We might not start that spoon until Wednesday. It kind of depends on how quickly we can get those tines separated and drawn out. Sometimes it doesn't take me long at all, and sometimes it takes a little bit of extra time. So we shall see. Goodness gracious. Like I said, I'm getting a little bit tired, but I think we'll be all right. So are you guys doing anything fun this weekend? I have to finish up some of the projects that we've recently finished. Like I need to actually finish the trivet. I should have done that last weekend and I didn't. I was being lazy last weekend. I also might take a look at putting the mud horn on the pauldron and then start cleaning that up. So I don't know. I have a pretty busy weekend this weekend. How about you guys? Anything fun? Spending some time in the shop? Putting up firewood and watching the Super Bowl. Oh, I forgot about the Super Bowl, guys. The Super Bowl. Adirondack Iron did that dagger spike. Oh, Adirondack. Okay. That's probably who, yeah. I think that's who it was. Forging tonight, wrestling show tomorrow, and Super Bowl Sunday. Ooh, that is a really full plate. I hope you have fun this weekend, Corwin. I think that would wear me out. Charles reposted it. That sounds familiar. That sounds really familiar. All right, let's do another heat. Oh, I decided we were going to go on that side because we're working on the horn of the anvil, not the heel or the middle. Nice, not bad. Getting a nice thin thing going there. Pretty happy with that. I saw Charles make a dagger like that at the Hammer-In we were at a couple weeks ago. That's cool. I don't get to do a lot of Hammer-Ins, like, because I live in the middle between most of the stuff for Umba and Indiana and Missouri. So if I want to go to a Hammer-In, it's usually a 2 or 3 hour drive in many different directions. So I'm pretty isolated until it's time for conferences. But I have you guys in YouTube. So it's something, you know. But it would be cool if I, you know, had a more closer local group. Yeah, well, it's 36 hours in the air for me to go, right? That's very true. That's very true. So have you actually looked up any of the smiths from the Australian Blacksmith Association? Have you been able to do that? Like, I know that Abana had, like, when I looked up on the Abana website, one of the first ones was the Australia, or like in the listing for their find a affiliate was the Australian Blacksmith Association. So I don't know, but I mean, Australia is huge. So, you know, and if you live all the way in like the boonies, it might be really hard to get to a meeting. I don't know. All right, we're going to do probably our last heat of the day. It's because I'm starting to get pretty tired. We are getting quite a bit of shaping going on, though. Ouch. All right, so we got to clean this up a little bit and start working on the tongs, I think. I want to maybe round that out a little. I haven't decided yet. But I like the nice thin handle that we've got going. I did say that was going to be my last heat, didn't I? I did. No, I live at Speargrass Forge, and I visited Sam Towns when I was in Perth. Alex Norton drove down to Tassie in a recluse, or is a recluse. So, like I said, I mean, sometimes it can be really hard, you know, to get together with the fellow blacksmiths. So yeah, I hear you though. Sometimes it can be a little bit lonely. Alrighty. So I think that's all she wrote for today, and I will be back on Monday. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I hope to see you guys Monday. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right. Everyone here's at least a 5-hour flight away. That's a really far distance. Thanks for the stream and have a great weekend. You guys as well. I hope your teams win for the Super Bowl. Let's see. Who is available to raid? Let's do some Miramac. I'm rooting for a tie. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you soon. Bye, guys.